Hello and welcome to Warblog. I just don't know what to say about my microphone problems. Let's say the saga continues. I should call it War Microphone Blog. It's focused on my microphone. I've got some interesting scenarios to do, particularly this Battle of Kasinga, but I'm not going to do that now. I'm going to do this one, just because it's an easy one, but it's quite interesting. Just like all of them are. Basically, this is the Siachen Glacier. Siachen Glacier. Now, essentially, the Karachi Agreement of July 1949 sort of defined which sides of Kashmir were sort of Indian and Pakistan. However, the line, the sort of border line that it detailed followed this red line. So it sort of went down here, up here, and it ended at NJ9842, some kind of position. It stopped there. Now, they obviously, it took quite a while, 35 years, before they sort of got a bit fussy about it, but in sort of 82, my writing's a bit upside down here, but in 82, well, earlier, before 82, so it wasn't really in, I'm not sure actually which way around this was now, but in 82 the Indian Army sent units off to Antarctica. I think what happened is at some point the Pakistani gave permission for timid Japanese mountaineers to climb Rimo I, which is presumably in here somewhere, and essentially it ignited the claim for this area. I mean, basically that the whole point of this, and the most significant thing, it's a glacier. It's 21,000 feet above sea level, 6,400 meters, so it's completely inhospitable. You just can't really go up there without, extreme life support systems. For the heat and cold, etc. So you could sort of almost see, when they drew that line, they probably thought, well, that's it, there's no point in them, it's a glacier, no one's going to go up there. But the thing is, the Pakistanis, let me just go into play mode, because I want to get my drawing tool out, which I love so much. It's the best. Okay. The Pakistani said that the line naturally continued whatever, up to the Karakorum pass. So all this was part of the Pakistani claim. However, the Indians said no. They said that it followed the Saltoro Ridge, like this. So you can sort of see how they drew this line up here, and then it would sort of automatically, sort of then goes up to the nearest point. You might argue that it would maybe it would have been more like this. But it doesn't matter. Basically, whatever the lines were, they defined basically the Siachen Glacier, which is this area. So the Indians are saying that the line's there. Now, the Pakistanis are saying that the line's there. The Indians are saying that the line's there. And so they basically start to put troops up there. So it's a really interesting story. I have to do this from memory because it's not written here. But basically, the Indians start to train their soldiers, and they send them off to Antarctica for training, and the Pakistanis figure this out. Now, the Indians had gone to a London supplier for extreme weather gear, presumably combat gear, but it makes you wonder, really, considering that Mount Everest is in India, and or presumably in India, presume it's in India. I mean, it might be in sort of a part of India, like Tibet, I don't know, it's in India, isn't it? I'm not going to worry too much about it, I'm sure it's in India, but it doesn't matter, there's huge mountains there, and you would have thought that they might have a few sort of shops selling warm jackets in India, but they went to London for this. And then when the Pakistanis realised that the Indians were sending their troops off for training for this purpose, they got a bit concerned, so they started to train their troops to do this, and so it's a race to get to the glacier, really. But they went to the same outfitters that the Indians went to in London, and the outfitters in London told the Indian government, so they basically sped things up. Now, to get to here from India, they needed to do airdrops, and I think they put airdrops sort of somewhere just nonchalantly off the board. They might have airdropped nearer. They didn't want to airdrop onto the glacier because they didn't want to warn the Pakistani radar systems that they were doing that, and so they walked the rest of the way. But by the time the Pakistanis got their troops up there, the Indians had just pretty much taken everything. There's only one part of the Saltoro Ridge that was sort of, significant that the Indians might have probably wanted to have taken, but the Pakistanis got there first. But other than that, they got everything. So the sort of structure here is it's quite simple. The Indians sort of arrive, and to get to there, they can move 2 turns. Ordinary troops through mountains can only move, it takes 3 turns. The benefit of moving 2 through mountains is that you can move and still do combat. Other troops can move, they can't do anything else. But these are the only troops that can go into glaciers. Well, special forces can, and irregulars can. Makes you wonder about that though. But, so essentially they can still only go 1, which is sort of normal, but they can move and fire, because they're only using 2. So basically it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'm giving you a clue here, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it takes them 12 turns at best. Now the clue is if you move this first unit there, if you do anything else, if you sort of think, oh, I'll hang around here, or you sort of go here first, and then you go there, you're not going to get there by turn 12. However, turn 10, 11 there, 12 to there, 13 to there. So when the Pakistanis come on turn 8, which would be when they get to there, they get 4 turns, so they go 1, 2, well, they should go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, so they should be able to get there. The Pakistanis should be able to get there before the Indians can, so the Pakistanis will probably get this. There's nothing the Indians can do to stop that, but the thing is, the Pakistanis can also get some of these others if the Indian player doesn't really sort of optimise what they do. And that's a sort of a gamey play, isn't it? A game rule. I mean, I'm telling you in advance, from a game perspective, you really pretty much want to sort of ramp this straight up here to get there, but you also might want to sort of maybe push it in this direction. You pretty much get 1 every turn, but it sort of doesn't quite work like that. There's a few sort of come on here, and sometimes you get 2 a turn, etc. So it's sort of a bit random. So it is still a bit of a challenge as to who can get what. There's basically, I'm assuming there's a little bit of combat. I mean, both sides lose troops. I can't remember, I haven't got the Wikipedia in front of me, but both sides lose troops. But a lot of them are lost from the cold, altitude sickness, but I think there's a small amount of combat. But the thing is, what I've sort of done here is everything's got a 1 factor. I think, in here it's going to be multiplied by 4, so people won't really be able to attack each other. It's not, this, you've got to remember, this is 21,000 feet. I have no idea what it's like to be up that high, but I'm pretty sure that it's one of these things. It's easy to think, oh well, I just wear a nice warm jacket, but that sort of environment, depending on the year, I guess, and the weather, it is, deadly. But so, it's not as though you could, the combat would be very interesting, as to whether they'd even bother. I mean, I imagine that they'd be quite as likely to go mad as anything else, up at that, in that sort of area. But, and as a sort of footnote, I mean, a lot of people sort of describe this whole situation as completely insane, because there's nothing there, there's absolutely, it's completely non-strategic ground. The requirements for actually occupying, it's a bit like holding ground on the moon, I think. But the thing is, I think it's significant because it offers some borders over here. So if there was a war, it would offer the Pakistanis a sort of certain border, maybe here or down here, or so there is a strategic implication to it. But they did take from the 49 agreement to 84 to actually try to occupy. But so essentially, a lot of people said, well, it's just completely pointless. All it achieved was escalating the tension between the two countries. But at the same time, both sides have now developed permanent bases there, presumably with electricity and heating and things like that. But it's quite bizarre to realise that sort of combat happens at such extreme altitudes. So you can attack other players. You could sort of maybe do some attacks. I would have thought maybe attrition would be more in line, but the thing is, because you've only got ones, and the defence bonus for mountains is going to be like 4 or 5, you're going to have the worst odds ever. And so it's interesting to see how that will work, with regards to sort of no combat at all, and interesting to see how the movement will work. So I'm going to do this now because it seems like such a little neat game. So I haven't played it yet, so maybe there's something not quite right, but in theory, yeah, I mean, I haven't moved anything yet, so if he was moving too, it'd bugger up all my, sort of like planning on how I deployed things. So you're in that turn. Well, obviously the Pakistanis have nothing to move because they're still getting their coats. So now we've got this other thing here. The reason I sort of staggered them like that is 2 reasons: A, to just make it a little more interesting, and B, you can't stack more than 1 in a mountain hex. There are games set up at the moment where, from before that I set that rule up, where you've got lots of units, but again, this sort of should make it quite interesting. So again, there's no Pakistani units. So you might have been tempted, if you didn't know the bigger picture, to sort of maybe go for this one first, but Pakistan, well, nothing to do. Yeah, it's like a row of ducks, isn't it? No Pakistani units. You see, I told you they stagger them a little bit. Because otherwise it would just be completely insane with this big long row of units. Okay. Start thinking soon, because I think these are the ones I want to compete for, and then even coming down this way. I might send this guy there. I don't know, I've got time to think about that. So there's no Pakistani units. Oh, that would be 1, 2, 3. That would be 4. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Okay. Here's some Pakistani units. The river won't actually make any difference because they can only move 1, and they'll lose all movement after getting across it. So there's a race. Okay, so what can the Pakistanis actually do? I think there's only really one move, and it's there. Yeah, look at that. Do you see? The race is on now. Look at that. Okay, I didn't don't want to be pressing that now, do I? They've got that's the sort of thing I do accidentally. I get so excited I mess it all up. I might be able to get to the Saltoro Ridge first. It really won't make any difference. So, but I won't be able to do that, look, because it's stacking, so I'll have to go there. Okay. Look at that. Right, so what do they want to do? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, but they're ahead, look. Ooh. We're going to get the Saltoro Ridge 1. I think the Saltoro Ridge 2. It could have been there. 1, 2, 3. Oh, look at it. So in this setup, there's not much the Indians can do unless they'd started down there. It could have been there. There's no way they could get Saltoro Ridge first. So it's just a race, but you never know really. And these are the key points. These mountain passes, that's why they're worth 2. This ridge just represents the ridge, and it's got Guyam Pass, Guyam La, which is the mountain pass there. Which turn is it? Pakistan's. So they've all moved. India. Pakistani's turn. Ooh. Okay. Well, they've got that. Obviously they're going to contend that. They're going to take that. So the Pakistanis are getting to the Saltoro Ridge first. There should really be another turn behind, I think, to make it more realistic. But in this situation, you know, it's sort of, it's just a simulation. Okay, well they're going to get into India Rakal. They're going to get into Sierra La, Belafond La. Going to Saltoro Ridge there. Okay, so we've got contact. This is interesting. Look at that. Oh, I missed out the attrition. I didn't do the attrition. Oh, look, I didn't click the turn yet. So, that was fortunate. Let's see what attrition does. I bet it's a 1 to 4 attack. 1 to 2, unsuccessful. So that's the nature of the combat in the mountains. I mean, that's about as good as it's going to get. It's a 1 to 2. Okay, so it's the Indian turn now. But we can try a bit of attrition there. So this should be a 1 to 4. It's half of that. That's a 1 to 2. Ooh, 0.2. Now I'm not going to push any further through there because I want to keep lines of supply. You know, I'm going to sort of put that limitation in, but so 1 to 1, but unsuccessful. So the Pakistanis could attack. 1 to 2. We've got good odds on that. Although they've been knocked down a little bit there. So might not get that 1 to 1 again. Okay. This is interesting. Oh. That would be an interesting one. That would be that would probably start war, wouldn't it, between India and Pakistan. They'd be demanding their troops back. There would be an international incident with China. I mean, it's not as though there's a bus route there, is there? You know, a ready supply of anything. I mean, they're on the top of a mountain. I don't think even helicopters can go that high. It has to be a space rocket. A low Earth orbit balloon with sandwiches. Okay. Well, oh, look at that, it's moved. Right, well, I'll do an attrition. If we get a good attrition roll, next time we could do an attack. No, 1 to 3, because they're all entrenched now, you see. Wasn't a good move. If it moves there, we can move back. I was going to move that. It has to be done. Now they're all dug in now. That's successful. I'm not sure how this ended actually. I think that it was really more of a race against time, and then they started digging in, but that would really change things. and possibly it should be a consideration when sending units up that way to start off with. Well, I'm going to have to move back now, aren't I? Well, that's pretty much the line. Let's do an attrition here. I think it's working out pretty well. You know, we've lost some casualties, nothing major. There was a scope, there was the opportunity for a 1-to-1, which was, you know, not in the attacker's favour, but could have resulted in a successful battle. But a 1-to-1 is not really much to go for. But it would have given them that pass. They had the opportunity to make a daring attack on that pass. So they can get to there. Ooh. Unsuccessful. Okay, so it's now the Indian turn. So they've at least gained a hex there. They gained that one. Not going to do anything there. And that's pretty much it. I think that's the line. That's the race. So in conclusion, Pakistanis gained a little bit more of Saltoro Pass than I thought they would. They've got these two. Guyong is still being converted, but they're going to get that. So that's the line. This is the new international line for the Siachen Glacier, according to this simulation. Let's get the tool out. There. So that is the line, as defined by the race for it. Isn't that great? Now the only thing that we've got is a serious diplomatic issue here. Now, I don't know, I'm just really flying off the cuff here really, but they could surrender and then be handed over as political prisoners, or prisoners of war. There could be this really strange situation where India spends the next 40 years supplying this base by air. They could have a peculiar relationship with China to supply through these hills, or alternatively they could give that up, allowing the Pakistanis a little bit more, giving them that one more strategic objective up there. There could be international efforts to get them to sort it out, but you know, that's sort of is a tricky situation that could culminate in global war at 21,000 feet. I'm not even going to change that because that is so tight. I've got to think, can I do it? I mean, it's just purely a game of maths from there. Can you get your units up there before to stop that situation from happening? I think you can. But, yeah, so there it is. I do like these sorts of scenarios where, to some extent, it's obviously unusual, but it's sort of a game of movement. You can understand it, in the sense that it wasn't a major conflict. You can understand the politics of it, where both sides really sort of have their claims for which way that sort of border line went. You know, where the history is quite interesting, because I mean, the Pakistanis were a lot quicker. They could have just sent the troops up there straight away without the sorts of delays that left them sort of, you know, essentially completely unable to, you know, when you consider that it was the Pakistan objective to secure that, all of this, you know, they would have been trying to get there, well, obviously all along that line there would have been places here that they wanted to get. You know, they might have been trying to get this place, and this place, as well as this part of the ridge here. You know, that could have been their objective, and obviously they failed completely on it. So that's that. I hope you found that interesting. And remember, if you want to play this, you can play it online, you can play it with your friends, you can print it out and everything, and all that. And I will speak to you later. Cheerio.